Well, here we are, back in the world of Battlefield. The previous adventure on Battlefield 3 was a pretty damn good one, but I, and a lot of other people, consider Battlefield 4 to be much better. But how much better, I hear you asking? So, let's talk about it. Battlefield 4 opens straight into a situation you would never want to be in. Sergeant Daniel Recker, the main player character, and his squad are trapped in his mum's minivan, which is currently
under the water.
The leader of the team, Dunn, drops the bomb that we're the ones who crashed into the ocean. I thought we were playing as Recker, not Alberto Ascari. Our boy Irish, who isn't Irish, tries to move the seat that's stuck on Dunn, but it won't budge. And all of the doors are sealed shut as well. Our other boy, Pack, astutely points out that we're still sinking. An incredible observation, bro. Thank you very much. Dunn gives us his Dunn gun, and that's 2 games in a row where we're gifted a handgun in the first 5 minutes. He drops this absolute bar,
for the wolf to survive, it's gotta chew off its own leg,
and tells us to shoot out the window. Shit, man, you don't have to tell me twice. Really, DICE? We're doing another cut back to the past. We cut back to gameplay, this time playing as the quiet kid, and begin making our way down the hallway of a flooded school. Wait, hold on, pause. Let me just... Oh my god, that's so much better. I mean, now seems like the perfect time to mention the visuals. For an 11-year-old game, this shit is gorgeous. I've never seen a dilapidated school look so good. I mean, yeah, I'm playing on PC and not the metal potato known as the Xbox 360. But, hear me out, shut up. After walking into another broken down area, we find a dog tag with William Shakespeare on it for some reason. Of all of the really cool dog tags this game actually has, this certainly is a dog tag. For a second, the game slips into an action horror game as 2 soldiers creep around below us. But, fortunately for us, they don't have necks and they never look up. Then the game hits us with 2 jump scares in a row. Ah! Avians! Ah! A white guy!
I'm gonna shot you in the face.
Well, what if I shot you in the face, but even harder? Now that we've reunited with the Ghost Eater and Dunn, he tells us that we need to get to the extraction point and asks us if either of us have seen Irish. We haven't. So Dunn radios him. And he tells us that he's coming from the north, but has enemies on his tail. So we take position in the windows. Living up to his namesake, Irish crashes through the window of a building like he's had one too many on a pub crawl, and we disturb the peace of this neighbourhood by scattering the streets with bullets. Irish! Now that we've proven ourselves worthy to carry a firearm, Irish parkours his way up to us and we move on. This wouldn't be an FPS game without another firefight directly after the previous one, so we sling bullets with the armed teachers of this school and eventually make our way to a wall, which we can stick a C4 to and blow up. This is the second thing that makes Battlefield 4 much better than Battlefield 3. The environment is so much more destructible in this one, and you can use that destruction to your advantage. So now that we're out of the school, Dunn contacts Hawkins, which I'm pretty sure is Colby from the last game. Turns out the school was right next to a construction zone in the desert, which we have to make our way through to get to the extraction point. So, like a sandworm from Dune, I pull out my knife and stealthily stab some enemies. I didn't watch Dune 2, but I'm pretty sure that's what the sandworms do. Tombstone Squad then commits GTA and races over to the next group of enemies. I'd also now like to mention the engagement mechanic. In Battlefield 4, as you've seen, you're part of a set squad of 4 who are always with you. And the glorious minds at DICE decided that you should be given some control of this squad. In this respect, your squad won't shoot until you do, or until the enemy starts shooting at you. But going even further, you can tell your squad to engage a group of enemies. And because the AI is actually effective, unlike the drooling sacks of cabbage you usually get put with, this means that you can tell your squad to focus on one group of enemies whilst you're focusing on a different group. Moving on, we walk into an unfinished building and get into an elevator which looks like it has the strength of a wet paper towel. Luckily for us, it actually has power and we start moving. Unlucky for us, an attack helicopter spawns in and launches missiles at us. Unfortunately, the elevator that we're on isn't built to withstand explosives. Tombstone Squad then has to avoid becoming actual tombstones as they skedaddle to the extraction helicopter. Take a shot every time I said extraction during this mission. Extraction, extraction, extraction. The roof collapses beneath us, which in turn causes the helo to almost chop us up into sashimi. Then a smokestack falls onto the building and this happens. How in sweet heavens fuck did we manage to survive that? Wrecker is more indestructible than Blackburn, holy moly. Where the fuck did this guy come from? Bro, how did you even manage to drive into here? Unfortunately for Dunn, his leg has been pinned under some rubble, and he again drops the bar about wolves. He orders us to amputate his leg, which we do, and he passes out. The helicopter comes back to add salt to the wound by throwing another missile at us, so we get in the car and speed off. After a while of driving, the helicopter comes back for the third time, but whoever purchased this car must have upgraded it at Los Santos Customs because it can tank explosives like a champ. However, because Wrecker didn't put his seatbelt on, he almost falls out of the car. And what do you do when you save your mate from getting their face peeled off by asphalt? You hand him a grenade launcher, of course. Now that the launcher is in our hands, we pop a nade right into the cockpit of the helicopter, and it... But, as we discussed earlier, this makes Wrecker swerve off the road and the car goes for a swim. And now that we're all caught up, we get to continue from where we left off. Unfortunately, we couldn't save Dunn, and he drowns alongside the car. As we're swimming back to the surface, we hear the audio of a phone call, which states that the intel we gathered from our operation confirms that in the event of a Chinese military coup, Russia would stay loyal to a man called Admiral Chang, a high-ranking admiral in the Chinese military. We're going to talk more about him later, don't worry. Whoever is on the phone call also mentions that there is rioting in the streets of Shanghai and Russia is already getting involved. The voice then says that if we make one wrong move, it will mean war, and in the most ominous way possible, he says,
"You have your orders, Captain."
This mission opens with Roland Garrison, the captain of the USS Valkyrie, telling us that martial law has commenced in China after a presidential candidate called Jin Jae was assassinated for trying to push the government on transparency, fairness, and freedom of speech. Due to the nature of self-preservation, I refuse to make any comments on the Chinese government. Roland also tells us that Admiral Chang has convinced the government officials that it was actually America that killed Jin. Our operation in Shanghai is to pull out 2 VIPs and a CIA agent out of a tower called Jiyu. I think that's how you pronounce it. I apologize to any Chinese people if that pronunciation was fucking terrible. And if this goes sideways, or Chang finds out about our previous operation, then he's going to have all the evidence he needs to paint a target on our backs and enact war. So, no pressure. Anyway, on the upside, Dunn appointed Wrecker as the commander of Tombstone Squad if he ever drowned in a broken down car after experiencing a building collapse and getting his leg cut off. An extremely specific situation, I know, but evidently that is how he died, so...
I'm the captain now.
After all of that talking, we finally get to the streets of Shanghai. Pac asks Irish if he's called Dunn's wife yet, to which Irish says he hasn't gotten around to it. Come on bro, it's just informing someone that their spouse tragically died in battle. How hard can it be? Irish almost hits a mother and her child, but they're lucky. If it was me driving, I wouldn't have just said almost. All of a sudden, a military truck comes out of fucking nowhere and we almost hit that as well. We come across a checkpoint, so we make a left because we don't exactly look like locals. Taking this left though was apparently a shit idea because we roll straight into a riot. And some random dickhead throws a rock at our windshield. Now that our ride is fucked, we get out and make our way on foot to a locked gate. Pac admits that he's played too much lockpicking simulator, aka Fallout, and proves it by getting the gate open for us. We continue running through the streets and rooftops of Shanghai until we reach the tower. Apparently I'm Barry Allen because I make it inside the tower so fast that I have to wait for my AI companions to even notice that I walked across the street. We all hustle into an elevator and Pac hands out SMGs like it's Christmas. But Roland told us not to fire a single bullet unless absolutely necessary, so I really hope this elevator takes us somewhere safe.
Oh no.
Well, I think it's safe to say that our cover is blown. The silver lining though is at least now we can just go absolutely ham and not even have to worry about being sneaky. So, in that regard, I grab a humongous shotgun and a SCAR, because if I'm gonna go loud, I'm gonna do it right. We take out another group of Chinese gunslingers and continue making our way to the VIP lounge. There's already another door that Pac has to picklock, and doing this causes another wave of soldiers to come crashing through the windows. As you guessed it, we wipe them out. Now that we have a moment to breathe, we get to the floor that the VIPs are on and some soldiers are at their door. But then, it turns out the VIPs aren't in there. They're in the next room over. We tell them, and the CIA agent, that we can't take the street. We also find out that one of the VIP's names is Hannah, and her husband, the other VIP, is shot. The CIA agent tells us that there's a helicopter on the roof which he can fly. So, I guess that's our plan. Therefore, we make haste to the roof. There's enemies here as well. So, as usual, as soon as we get to the helo, the VIP gets shot again. Bro is just not having a good day, is he? So, we return fire and protect the helo as it flies away. Of course, that now means that we're stuck on the roof. We radio the captain to tell him that we need exfil, and that Hannah's husbandman needs desperate medical attention. On the elevator ride back down, we find out that Irish has a fear of heights. We get ourselves into another gunfight and begin making our way back through the streets of Shanghai, popping a couple skulls along the way. Eventually, we make our way out to a bridge, but a wild tank has appeared. So, we have to take care of that before we move on. Of course, you can sort of just do this however you want, but me, being a battlefield veteran, run up behind the tank and strap some C4 on the back of it before pressing the trigger and blowing it to smithereens. Now that we've taken care of that, we can run down to the docks and await our luxurious VIP wooden boat, which means that I can live out my fantasy of being Captain Jack Sparrow, just on a smaller scale. We sail off into the night, but we don't get far before this happens. Holy shit, that was close. The worst part is that the EMP also killed our radios, so now we can't whisper sweet nothings into Command's ear. Irish, for some reason, tells all the refugees to follow us back to the Valkyrie, and then the mission ends. This mission opens with Captain Garrison talking about how many Chinese people we've just adopted. Apparently it's between 300 to 400. So like, one Chinese family. The other person included in this conversation is a doctor on our ship, to which she immediately complains about not having any help. But the captain attempts to put her mind at ease when he says that she'll have more hands on deck when the USS Titan meets up with us. The game then cuts back to Wrecker after being woken up from a nightmare. The nightmare most likely being about our newly acquired risk of contracting COVID. But we've got no time to think about that. So we get up from our sizable one-person sleep chamber and make our way to the medical bay to find Pac, Irish, and Hannah. Two guards are committing their daily sexism training by not letting Hannah into the medical wing, but Pac is a feminist and commands the guards to let her through. We check up on her husband. Ni hao! He looks pretty banged up, and Hannah convinces the doctor to let her help, as she has a medical degree. Now we can finally go and find Irish. He's down in the garrison, giving children unpeeled apples. You know there's toxins in those, right? They're not allowed to eat the skin, Irish. They're not allowed! Now that the children have cyanide poisoning, we flee the scene of the crime, but an alarm goes off. We rush topside in an attempt to evade the police, but we run into an even worse problem. The USS Titan has been attacked by the Kraken and is heavily damaged. Captain Garrison pops his head out and requests to speak to Tombstone. We clamber up the stairs into his little war room, and Garrison informs us that Agent Kovic, the CIA guy that we saved back in Shanghai, will be taking over as squad leader. What the f***, man? You can't just make this motherfucker the squad leader. I was the squad leader. Dunn told you that if he ever died, it should be me. And you can't just give it to this looking old bastard. F*** you, Kovic. I should have let you die in Shanghai. Now that we've moved on from our emotions, let's get into the mission briefing. Basically, the USS Titan was out of range of the EMP when it went off. This means that we should still be able to go over and grab the voyage recorder from the damaged ship. This recorder has some important data on it. Probably pornography. So, we head to a boat and start sailing our way to the ship. Luckily for us, there's a perfectly sized Godzilla glory hole for us to get into the ship with. We eventually find the hatch that we're supposed to travel through, and after opening it, we get to experience the worst part of this game. This f***ing underwater section is so terrible. Maybe it's just my game, but it would absolutely not let me swim properly in this area. It was like I was trying to swim through hardening concrete. Eventually, we do make it to the other side without drowning. However, I can't say the same for the poor sods that we come across in the next room. This is quite a powerful scene, so I just want to let it play out.
Down here! Hey, the water's rising! You gotta help us out, this is the only way out of here!
Don't worry, we're gonna get you out!
Step aside, Marine. Fuck, it's building shut! Shoot it open!
They're dead already. Let's move. Fuck we are! We're not leaving them!
Look, even if we had a torch, it would take 9 minutes to cut the wells. At the rate the water's rising, when we do get them out, there'll be corpses. We need them, that's an order! You heard Garrison!
Man, fuck you! Hold on, soldiers! Give me that!
Oh, damn it, Irish, cool down! Sorry. Let's go, move! Son of a bitch, I'll get him for that one. Get his ass. Record. I gotta go. Please hold me for another time. Who locked you in?
They locked us in and just left us here, I don't know why.
They launched the missile into the ship and then boarded it? It doesn't make sense. Record, we should go on.
Hey, I don't want to die in here! No! Please! Tell my mom! Tell my mom! Help! I can't die like this!
I feel bad even having shown that to you because it's just so tragic. We walk into the next room and find the voyage log that we've been looking for. Kovic snatches it from us like a pissed off little brother, which is suspicious, and we burst through the next door and wreck a whole gang of soldiers. After this, we make our way through a hallway until... Oh my god, this ship just got f***ing Titanicked. We jump down to the lower half of the ship and buzz through some more soldiers, and I need to say that this section is so goddamn cool. How many games can you say that you fought enemies on a sinking warship that just broke into 2 pieces? One. That's how many games. And it's this one. We swiftly make our way down to the side of the ship and commandeer another boat. This one has cannons on it though, so it's the better option of the 2 that we've sailed. We take out some enemy boats, sail across the 7 seas, and eventually make it back to the Valkyrie. But the Valkyrie has been boarded, so we have to deal with this situation before we can continue, which is exactly what we do. And eventually, we make it back to the medical wing, where we get to watch Hannah absolutely kick ass like she's Jennifer Wick.
Push the door! Fuck, Pat, come on!
She tells us that Garrison was with her, but he left, and now we need to find him. And as we're making our way up this ladder, a chopper flies past and shoots us off, so we promptly blow it up. Unfortunately for Kovic, the chopper had aimbot and he got turned into Swiss cheese. He gives the datapad to Irish and tells us that Garrison will have the code to unlock it. However, bearing this responsibility means that Cheng is going to be after us. Kovic then reappoints us as the commander of Tombstone and then dies. Take the L, pussy, that's karma for taking my commander title away from me. We climb up to the control room and find Garrison. We tell him that Kovic is disconnected from the server, which he's not too upset about, I'm not either. And then he tells Wrecker that he wants a debrief. And that's a wrap on this mission. Operation 4 starts with Garrison telling us that the intel that we got from the USS Titan confirms that the Pacific Central Command is gone, wiped out by Chinese missiles. He tells us that if the rest of our fleet is still out there, they're blind as bats. Garrison then tells us that we're going to be assaulting an airfield, and to signal him when the enemy planes are on the ground. Once they are, the ship will use the last of its missiles to blow them up. Oh, also, Hannah is now a part of our squad, which Irish is not a fan of. Again, living up to his namesake, he's racist as f***. In all seriousness though, it's because that he thinks she can't help us and that she's going to be a liability. Which, I guess is a valid concern. I mean, we don't really know her. Anyway, we all get in a dinghy, and we get to witness this badass scene.
The storm has grounded enemy aircraft, but it won't be for long. It may be the only ship left, but we will not go down without a fight. We will steam west, strike the airfield under storm cover, create a safe passage through the Singapore Strait. Strike with speed and courage. Let this storm carry us home.
Singapore is in the middle of an awful typhoon, but we believe that we can use this to our advantage, which is true. We storm the beach with our tanks and take out the first wave of the mission. We get up to the highway, and the tank terraforms a path for us to follow. Another wave of soldiers bum rush us and disable our comms. Not good. But the tank then blows them up. Very good. Our current tank pilots are shit, so we take over, and it's beautiful. Then we enter some building. I don't know what it is, but whatever. It's significant enough to trigger some dialogue. We are now the remaining 4 of this entire army, and Hannah's idea is to just run across the bridge to the airfield. Yeah, fucking great idea, Hannah. Irish obviously bites back at this, and confesses that he's angry that she spoke to Garrison behind our backs and he calls her a liar. I mean, I'd be angry as well if she did that and then suggests this fucking dumbass plan, but for some reason we do it anyway. Making our way across the bridge, you already know, we mag dump some guys, blah blah blah. Then the wind picks up and throws a fucking car at Wrecker, which isn't ideal. Pac busts the window and Hannah checks the emergency brakes. All 3 of them try and push the car off of Wrecker, but it's no use because they're all just so weak. Pfft, can't even push a car. Then a fucking boat shows up out of nowhere and just crashes into the bridge. What the fuck, man? It's a good thing that Wrecker is part fish, because he easily swims up back to the surface. On the upside, we washed up on the shore of the airfield. So, silver linings, I guess. We begin to make our way inside, and eventually we stumble upon a hangar and a group of enemies, which absolutely rinse me. Eventually, we move on to the main hangar of the mission, where all the fighter jets are, wiping out the enemies inside. We get a turreted car and drive out onto the runway to shoot some jets. And then this happens. We wake up from our power nap, and Pac is in real bad shape. And to add insult to injury, this betrayed us! Irish was right, we never should have trusted you, you two-timing motherfucker. We cut to some lovely B-roll of the USS Valkyrie, and the captain is again talking to the doctor lady about what's going on. She tells him that there were many casualties at the hangar, but that Tombstone isn't part of that statistic. But the captain says that if it's Cheng that has us, they'll probably never see us again. Well, now I just feel hopeless. We come to in a very poorly lit crack den, and we're being interrogated / tortured by Cheng and this other guy. They're trying to get us and Irish to give them info about the operation in Shanghai. But these guys don't know that we're built like the Berlin Wall. I say this because Irish crumbles almost immediately by saying how badly he wants revenge on Hannah and her husband. The reason that this is a fuck up is because it turns out Hannah doesn't have a husband, and Chen deduces that this must be Jin Jae, the thought to be assassinated man that we saved all the way back in Shanghai.
What a twist!
Cheng also figures out that Jin must be on the Valkyrie and orders Bohai, the other interrogator, to knock us out, which he does by electrocuting us until we pass out. Wrecker wakes back up in a cell, being told a bedtime story by a Russian man. Holy shit, it's the astronaut from Big Bang Theory. Or the husband father from American Shameless. He then rips a pipe off the wall and tells us that he has the knowledge and the skills to get us out of the prison. It turns out that this guy is actually Dima from Battlefield 3. How did he end up here, you might ask? I have no fucking idea, he just kinda is. Well, anyway, it is Dima, but they also changed his face for some reason. Dima then tears the wall apart because the radiation poisoning that he got from the nuke in Paris must have been full of just gamma. And we begin to climb out. I love this mission so much. Prison breaks are always just so cool, and this is a very welcome experience. After crawling around like rats, we get jump scared by a burst in a pipe, which alerts a guard, but he doesn't see us. So, Dima gets to jump on him, takes him out, and steals his gun. The next guard we come across is facing away from us, so this gives Wrecker the chance to stab him in the back, and we also take his gun. We walk out into the main area, and if you've played the multiplayer, like me, you're gonna have PTSD seeing this place again. We make it to the control room and unlock every single cell, which obviously incites a riot, and we have a tango with the guards. Eventually finding Irish, he's in a fight with one of the guards, so we give him a hand. And he tells us that Pac is alive. Thank f***ing God. I would have been so upset if he died. Dima then finds a console which is going to override the doors, but he needs some time, so we defend him. The door finally opens, but after going under it... You've got to be fucking kidding me! Oh?
Sorry, I couldn't do.
Unfortunately, we can't get our revenge on Hannah, and it makes me wish this game was an RPG instead. Ah, fresh, cold air. I can't imagine how bad it smelt in that prison, like sweat and toe fungus. There's an ammo box up on top of the hill, so we can select our loadout, and we begin fighting our way to the cable car. Once we're in, luckily enough, it starts moving, and Irish points out how exposed we are, which is right. It's very unfortunate that this is our only way down, and this is exactly why. This crash, disappointingly, leads to Dima's death. And this is a major criticism that I have for the game. Like, why put Dima in it if all you're going to do is kill him 10 minutes later? It's not even explicitly obvious that it's him either. He sounds different, he looks different, and is somehow just placed in this Chinese prison, and there's no explanation for it. Why is he even here? And then you just kill him off. Not only that, but you kill him off in a shitty cable car crash. Not even some heroic sacrifice or anything. It's mega shit. But it's done. He's dead, and we have to move on. Rest easy, Dima. At least you died a free man. Operation 6 starts with the captain asking if there's any sign of Tombstone on the radar, to which one of the other men says that there hasn't been. Cutting to Tombstone, we see that they, along with Hannah, are out in the wilderness, clearly having to be embodying Bear Grylls and probably drinking each other's piss. Hannah tells us that if we stick together, we're not going to die, which clearly was very true, because in the next scene, we're in sunny Tashgar. Hold on, where the fuck is Tashgar? Tashgar is based on a real life city called Kashgar. Anyway, now that we've had a geography lesson, Hannah breaks the mood by telling us that we're not going to last much longer without food or water. She offers to drive, but Irish refuses because he still hates her, and says that we don't know anything about her, which is why he doesn't trust her. So, she drops this fucking atom bomb on us. She says that she brought Jin to meet her parents, siblings, and their kids, and the very next day, Chang's troops murdered her entire family and burned the entire village down. So, yeah, shit. This actually gets through to Irish, and he says he's sorry. And now he believes, at the very least, she's not on Chang's side. As we're driving down the road, a Russian APC jump scares us, but they don't see us. Then, all of a sudden, we get grabbed by some random twerp. Why the f*** am I getting kidnapped and these two just get to walk in like normal people? What the fuck? We introduce ourselves to the group, and Irish and this guy bond over where they're from. Just make out already. Irish also introduces Hannah as good people. I guess he's alright with her now. The team that we just met also informs us where their stronghold is, which is where their commanding officer, Major Greenland, is stationed. Our first obstacle is a tank, so we sneak up on it and strategically place some C4. Blowing it up causes the enemies to have a slight notion that they're under attack, and they start screaming like Taylor Swift fans watching her do literally fucking anything. So, because of this, we jump in a tank and start leaving tread marks on their skulls. But this doesn't last long enough because we have to get to the next section, and we have to get out and walk. There's some more dudes here as well, and one of them pelts a rocket at my ankles that passes me on to the next life. Luckily for Rekka, that was just a premonition. So, we get sucked back into the present and make sure not to get blown up this time. After becoming a phase member and getting through the rest of the enemies, we move on across the bridge into the town, all the way until we reach Major Greenland. She's on the radio, shouting at someone on the other end about how the Russian soldiers have got them at a disadvantage and that there's no way to exfil because of their AA guns. So, being the generous bunch that we are, we offer to go out and try-handedly take out the anti-aircraft guns by destroying a dam nearby, which will, in turn, flood the cannons. Greenland agrees to this on the condition that she'll then get us passage to the Valkyrie. So, she gives us some wheels and enough explosives to blow the dam. Irish, being a big-brained Chad, knows the perfect spot to place all this C4. So we're just going to follow his orders once we get there. There's a huge force of soldiers at the dam, but we have plot armor, so who cares? The first round of numbskulls is a little encampment just before the entrance to the dam. I try to be stealthy, which works at first, but then I think, who's stealth even for? and just start blasting. There's also a helicopter, which gets taken down faster than someone saying a slur on Twitch, and eventually we make it to the elevator, where Hannah and Irish finally have a normal conversation. As we get to the bottom, the power gets cut and we're ambushed, which doesn't work out for them, and we place the first bomb. We then make our way to the outside of the dam, onto some scaffolding, and test the construction workers' hard hats. Evidently, they don't protect well against bullets. And... I haven't got a clue how we all managed to survive this, but we did, so happy days. As we regain consciousness and wake up to the faces of Hannah and Irish, we see a helicopter fly overhead, which is Greenland. She lands, insults us, tells us we did good, and then tells us to fuck off. Which we do in the absolute best way possible. Just like the Black Ops video that I just did, this reminds me so much of Metal Gear. Because we get to use a skyhook to get back to the Valkyrie.
Colonel, please. I'm scared of heights. It makes my snake solid.
Dude, it's so fucking cool. We're in the endgame now, and this mission begins with Tombstone dropping in over the Valkyrie. I feel so bad for Irish. Having a fear of heights does not mix with jumping out of planes. The Valkyrie has been heavily damaged by Chinese forces who have boarded the ship, so we land on it and start blasting. We battle through the deck of the ship and make our way to the back. There's a helicopter that we then shoot down, and we move inside the ship to find Garrison. But instead of him, we find...
Drop it, motherfucker! Jesus, Rick. I almost shot you in the face again.
Let's fucking go, my boy. I thought we lost you. 10 out of 10 game, hands down, pack has been found. Then the mood gets instantly ruined by Hannah interrupting the sweet reunion to ask where Jin is. Hannah, can you just shut the fuck up for 1 second, please? Anyway, now that the moment is ruined, we head back over to the medbay to find Jin. We fight some more soldiers on the way who are also looking for him, but we're looking harder, so we triumph. Luckily, Jin is still here and he's not dead. And he is finally awake. Oh, Garrison is also here as well, but that's less important. Jin starts spewing some bullshit about how he wants to try and talk down the enemy. His delusion is thinking that they're just going to listen to him and not shoot on sight. But he does admittedly drop this hard quote.
In this room, I am invisible. I am dead already. We all are. If I cannot show my face, if I cannot speak to my brothers without fear, then I have lost.
But Wrecker is a little rebel, and he thinks Jin's bar was so hard that he opens the door. And it actually fucking worked. The soldiers don't shoot. They let us up, and then they radio the rest of the army to let them know that Jin is alive, and they call a ceasefire. But Chang, being the insecure little bitch that he is, orders his warship to fire at us because he doesn't want word getting out that Jin is still alive. Because Jin would be able to prove that America wasn't behind his supposed assassination, and Jin probably has all the evidence to prove that it was Chang. So, we come up with a plan to rig Chang's warship with explosives and blow it all the way to hell. But Pak stays back in order to protect Jin and orders us to return safely. Yes sir. Wrecker, Irish and Hannah then sail towards the warship, dodging bullets and artillery along the way until reaching the side. Irish plants the bomb, and we get to cosplay as Batman for the second time in the Battlefield series as we use grappling hooks to fly above the warship, out of range of the explosion. Irish, now taking a liking to Hannah, gives her the honour of blowing up the charge. But, because she sucks, the detonator malfunctions and the bomb doesn't blow. She asks us for another C4 charge, and Irish tells us to give it to him instead, as whoever's going back down to plant it isn't going to be coming back. So, who do you think I gave the bomb to? Fuck you, Hannah, go blow yourself up. Do you really think I'd let my boy Irish die? You're delusional. So, she slides down the grappling hook, and as soon as she gets to the bottom, and there we go. Chang is now dead, and the Valkyrie is safe. Pak is still alive, and Hannah also died. I would say that's a pretty sweet ending. And that's exactly what it is. An ending. Right after this, the game just ends. No final message, no epilogue. We just see a helicopter flying back to the Valkyrie with the commander in the background, telling the pilot to bring his men home, and then the credits roll. Actually, well, there is one little extra bit. During the credits, we can hear some dialogue between Hannah and Irish, which could be implying that she survived, but who knows. And there's another Battlefield game completed. Firstly, I want to say that this one is definitely better than Battlefield 3 in some areas, but let's talk about it. Battlefield 4 definitely had a more in-depth story, and it felt much more layered than Battlefield 3, but I personally preferred Battlefield 3's story. I like the internal conflict of that game. The agents thinking Blackburn was a double agent and working with the Russians to blow up the cities was awesome, and the twist at the end when you find out that Blackburn shot his sergeant, I think that is more compelling. I always find internal conflicts better than external conflicts. I think Battlefield 4 was a little less layered in this regard. Wrecker doesn't really have any personality and he never speaks. He also doesn't make any heavy decisions. Well, I mean, I guess you could count the decision at the end, but I mean, that's not a heavy decision. I can't imagine there was many people who chose Irish over Hannah. I also didn't really feel as heavily impacted by the story. I mean, sure, there was the moment where Hannah betrayed us, but it didn't feel very impactful from a narrative perspective. It doesn't leave anything emotionally left over, in my opinion. Especially because she just comes back out of nowhere and is like, actually, I'm on your side now. It just kind of felt very sloppy and very rushed. However, Battlefield 4 does absolutely excel over Battlefield 3 in terms of its gameplay and its levels, as all sequels should do. Battlefield 4 is definitely an improvement on 3. Everything feels familiar, but much more polished. Obviously it looks better as well, and the set pieces are much more interesting this time around. In between ships cracking in half and getting to fight across the wreckage, to the beautiful streets and the towers of Shanghai, Battlefield 4 easily sweeps 3 in this regard. I'm also a huge fan of these over-the-top action movie, Uncharted sort of sequences. Something that makes you think, how the fuck did we manage to get out of that situation? And I think more FPS games need to take this approach. If you're not making a super serious FPS story game that aims to take a deeper look into characters and themes, make your FPS games absolutely crazy with these sort of insane situations. And this is exactly why I love that section in Black Ops 6 with all the motorbikes and stuff, because it's like, bro, you gotta just have fun with your FPS games. Anyway, Battlefield 4. This is another absolutely classic game, and it still holds up really well, just like Battlefield 3 did. I basically have the same feelings as I did regarding Battlefield 3. If you're looking for a short, fun, well-rounded FPS experience, definitely pick it up and play it. It only took me about 3 hours to beat, so it was no time sink either. Just a good experience if you have a free afternoon. Same goes for the multiplayer as well. It's still great. A+. Well, I think the only thing left I have to say is the outro. So, I'll say this. Thank you all again for clicking on the video, watching any amount of it, and if you made it this far, you deserve a cookie. I'm still really enjoying making these types of videos, and I'm even more happy that you still enjoy watching them. As for what's coming next,
Returning visual contact with USG Ishimura.
Welcome, Isaac Clarke, to the USG Ishimura.
If even a single network escapes, humanity is finished.
You might as well have killed him yourself.
Bring convergence! Make us whole! Enough people have died!
It was all for nothing. You really need me to tell you this is a bad idea?
This is all I got left!
see you all soon. Toodaloo, buckaroos.